Job description, Department of Special International Affairs at the Ministry of Justice of the State of Israel. Well, describe your job description.
Sure. I'm here in my personal capacity, but in my daily job is focused on some of the international issues that come up for Israel, not in the regular course of events. Some of the more unique challenges that the state of Israel is facing in the field of international law, both on the international plane, but also domestically, internally, making sure that our activities are consistent with international law, also explaining some of the legal issues that come up at the international sphere. My particular focus academically is on international criminal justice. I've spent many years at NYU studying international criminal justice. My dissertation deals with theory of international criminal justice in my doctorate. I've spent some time with the International Criminal Tribunal of Rwanda. It's something that I'm very, very much committed to and interested in. And I found the way to combine it in my work. And today my office is responsible for international criminal justice issues in Israel. I attend all the meetings of the Assembly of State Parties of the ICC and engage with all partners in other countries on international criminal justice issues. And so it just turned to be a fantastic opportunity to combine my academic interests and my daily work with this particular position.
The privilege of opening the first trial in history for crimes against the peace of the world imposes a grave responsibility.
What does Robert Jackson mean to you?
Well, Robert Jackson, I mean, is a person that was able to make a difference in his life. If we were to look at the history of mankind and identify a few people that had the greatest impact in the field of international criminal justice, I'm sure that Robert Jackson would make it to any list of the top 5 people, any such list of top 5 people. I think his contribution in the Nuremberg trials, for me as a Jewish person, as someone coming from the state of Israel, is something that is will always be remembered. And I think substantively some of the notions that he incorporated into the case at Nuremberg will have a lasting effect on our lives forever.
The wrongs which we seek to condemn and punish have been so calculated, so malignant and so devastating that civilization cannot tolerate their being ignored, because it cannot survive their being repeated.
Have your paths crossed with Gabriel Bach?
Oh, yes, of course. Justice Bach was, of course, one of the most known justices of our Supreme Court. But his contribution in the field of international criminal justice is mostly known because of his involvement in the Eichmann trial. The Eichmann trial was led by Gideon Hausner, then the Attorney General, but he was then assisted by a young prosecutor, Gabriel Bach, that later on became the State Attorney of Israel and then a Justice of our Supreme Court. I think if there is an opportunity for you to invite him here and have him speak on tape on his experience of the Eichmann trial, I think it's definitely worthwhile. He's a living legend and certainly within Israeli context. The Eichmann trial, of course, had an impact internationally. but also within the Israeli context, it had a significant contribution, and Justice Bach, I think, will always be remembered for his part in that. Ambassador Aharoni will speak about the current political situation in the Middle East with specific reference to the Arab Spring. I assume that he will speak about the complexities from an Israeli perspective presented by the change that is happening in the Arab world. I think he will, in all likelihood, emphasize some of the opportunities that this development entails, but will also highlight some of the risks and concerns and the issues that we should all be cognizant of as we live through this process of change in our neighborhood. The Arab Spring is not about Israel. It's something of the Arab world, about the Arab world, but it is certainly something that affects Israel very much. And we are following it very closely and thinking very hard about some of the issues that are presented by the Arab Spring. We're all very hopeful that, at least in the long term, the changes that we see today in the Arab world will make it possible to achieve peace in the Middle East between Israel and all of its Arab neighbors. I'm not personally involved in working on this on the rebranding issue, but I certainly feel as an Israeli that there is, maybe it is natural, but the reality is that there is a significant focus within the international community, but also in the international media. There is significant focus on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and Israel is viewed and perceived to a great extent through the lens of the conflict, where the reality is that Israel is very different from what one often sees on television. It's a very lively, democratic society with people feeling very secured, enjoy good restaurants, good music, go spend time on the beach, have a lot of fun. I think if one speaks to a tourist that comes to Israel, I think many times you see people that are so surprised by the gap between the way that Israel is sometimes portrayed and the way it is in fact in reality. So in that sense, I'm certainly exposed to it. Even in my own practice and experience, when I travel around the world and I go to conferences and I want to speak with people about issues of even international criminal justice internationally, it will always come back to the issue of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And of course, I understand that. It's certainly an important issue and something that needs to be discussed and addressed, and we very much hope that we will be able to resolve it. But it's also important for us that other people know that there is so much else about Israel and its contribution to the international community in the fields of science, innovation, just being a normal, regular country that is a good standing member of the international community. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it very much, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Roy.